This morning, lines outside a grocery store in Central Florida with anxious shoppers. For days, this has been the picture of America.
Showed up today and it's just chaos. There's a huge line to get toilet paper.
Food prices have skyrocketed by 33% in just 2 years, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. Major grocery chains are bracing for something far worse. 12 essential items you rely on daily could vanish from shelves by February 2025. My team analyzed supply chain data from thousands of stores, and the results are alarming. That morning coffee you enjoy might soon become a luxury you can't afford or even find. Stay with me because what we discovered will shock you, especially number 7. The cracks in our global supply chain are widening by the day. Attacks on cargo ships in the Red Sea recently forced hundreds of vessels to reroute, delaying deliveries by weeks. Meanwhile, extreme weather events are wreaking havoc on agriculture. 2024 was the hottest year in recorded history, leaving key farming regions like California, responsible for 70% of the nation's fruits and vegetables, devastated. They've already lost 20% of farmland to drought and heat waves. Add to that the surging diesel prices, up 45% since last winter, which are forcing trucking companies to shut down routes or go out of business entirely. Just last month, Bob's Transport, a family-run business delivering groceries to New England for over 50 years, closed its doors, leaving stores scrambling to fill the gap. The situation is urgent, but it's not hopeless. Some forward-thinking companies are taking steps to adapt, and there's still time for you to prepare. I've spent weeks researching with industry insiders, and today I'm revealing the 12 everyday items most at risk of disappearing, and how you can protect yourself before it's too late. Let's dive in. Number 12. Eggs. Let's talk about the staple that's in nearly every kitchen. Eggs. Here's the cold reality. The U.S. poultry industry has been hit by one of the worst avian flu outbreaks in history, wiping out tens of millions of hens in the last year alone. According to the USDA, egg production is down by 30%, and prices have already surged by 70% compared to the previous year. But it doesn't stop there. Feed costs for hens have soared due to droughts in key grain-producing regions like the Midwest, pushing smaller egg farms to the brink of closure. And here's the kicker. Several states have recently implemented new animal welfare laws that require cage-free egg production, further reducing the number of eggs that can legally be sold. If you think this won't affect you, think again. Grocery store shelves are already showing signs of shortages, and restaurant chains are quietly altering their menus to use fewer egg-based dishes. I spoke with Sarah, the owner of a small bakery, who said, "We've had to triple our budget for eggs just to keep making our signature pastries. If things don't improve, we might have to close by spring." The solution? If eggs are a must-have in your household, now is the time to plan. Powdered eggs are a long-lasting alternative and can be stored for years without refrigeration. Another option is to buy fresh eggs in bulk and freeze them. Yes, you can freeze raw eggs in ice cube trays for later use. But don't hoard. Only get what you'll reasonably use. The situation is serious, but with a little preparation, you can weather this storm. Number 11. Sugar. Let's talk about sugar, and this one's not as sweet as it sounds. Brazil, the world's largest sugar exporter, just reported a 20% drop in output due to extreme droughts that have decimated their sugarcane crops. Meanwhile, India, another major producer, recently announced export restrictions to prioritize domestic supply amidst unpredictable monsoon patterns wreaking havoc on their harvests. And it's not just the weather. Fuel shortages and rising transportation costs are making it harder to get sugar from farm to table. Here's the reality. Sugar prices have surged by 40% since last year, and bakeries, candy manufacturers, and even soft drink companies are scrambling to secure supplies. A contact in the food industry told me their usual sugar supplier is rationing orders, forcing them to pay nearly double for bulk quantities. It doesn't stop there. Store shelves are already seeing gaps, and major retailers may begin limiting purchases as shortages grow worse. Here's what you can do. Consider buying sugar in bulk while it's still affordable. Granulated sugar has a long shelf life if stored in a cool, dry place, making it a practical and essential addition to your pantry. You might also want to explore alternatives like honey, agave syrup, or stevia as backups. The writing is on the wall. Sugar is at risk of disappearing or becoming unaffordable for many households. Act now to ensure you're not left without one of the most basic yet essential ingredients in your kitchen. Number 10. Coffee. Brace yourself. Your morning cup of coffee may soon come with a hefty price tag, or worse, disappear altogether. Brazil, which produces nearly 40% of the world's coffee, is grappling with its worst drought in decades, leaving coffee plantations parched and bean yields plummeting. In Colombia, unrelenting rains have destroyed 25% of their coffee crops, while Vietnam, the leading supplier of Robusta beans used in your favorite instant coffee, is struggling with flooding that's devastated key growing regions. Here's what this means for you. Coffee prices have already surged by 60% over the past year, and experts warn that the worst is yet to come. Major coffee chains are preparing for shortages, and small roasters are being forced to pay triple for quality beans, if they can even secure them. A friend in the industry told me that their supplier can no longer guarantee shipments and they're already cutting back on specialty blends. It's not just cafes feeling the crunch. Those convenient coffee pods and grounds you grab from the grocery store are expected to double in price by spring. The good news? You can still take steps to protect your caffeine fix. Stock up on whole beans now, as they can stay fresh for 6 to 9 months if stored in a cool, dark place. Better yet, freeze them in airtight containers and they'll last up to 2 years without losing flavor. If you're a coffee lover, don't wait until the shelves are empty or prices are out of reach. Secure your supply now, because when the global coffee crisis hits, you'll be glad you planned ahead. Number 9. Chocolate. Here's some bittersweet news that's going to hit chocolate lovers hard. Your favorite treat is facing a major crisis. West Africa, which produces 70% of the world's cocoa, is experiencing catastrophic crop failures due to relentless droughts and unpredictable weather patterns. In Ghana and Ivory Coast, cocoa yields have dropped by over 30%, and farmers are struggling to keep their plantations alive. But the problems don't end there. Rising fertilizer costs, up 45% from last year, are forcing many cocoa farmers to scale back or abandon their crops altogether. Meanwhile, political instability in key exporting regions is disrupting supply chains, causing massive delays in getting cocoa to global markets. What does this mean for you? Chocolate prices have already surged by 50% over the past year, and analysts predict they could climb even higher by spring. That $2 candy bar you grab at the checkout, it might soon cost double. Specialty chocolates and premium brands are particularly at risk, with some already pulling products due to supply shortages. Even your go-to baking chocolate for brownies and cookies could be harder to find in the coming months. Here's a tip. Stock up on your favorite chocolates now. Dark chocolate and cocoa powder, if stored properly in a cool, dry place, can last up to 2 years. Don't wait until prices spike even further or shelves start to empty out. If chocolate is your go-to comfort food or a key ingredient in your pantry, act now. Because when the cocoa crisis fully hits, your sweet indulgence could turn into an expensive luxury. Number 8. Cereals. Here's a breakfast staple that could soon become a luxury. Cereals. Yes, those simple boxes of comfort we've all grown up with might be vanishing faster than we think. And no, this isn't an exaggeration. Let me break it down for you. First, we need to talk about the global grain crisis. Major grain producers like the US, Ukraine, and Australia are reporting some of the worst yields in decades. In the US alone, corn and wheat crops, the backbone of cereal production, are down by 28% due to severe droughts and extreme weather patterns. Just last month, Kansas, the top wheat-producing state, declared a state of agricultural emergency after 40% of its crops failed. And Ukraine, a critical global supplier, is still reeling from infrastructure disruptions, with shipments reduced by nearly half. But the issues don't stop with farming. Let's talk about production costs. The price of processing grains has surged, with energy costs up by 35%, and packaging materials seeing a 50% hike since 2024. Manufacturers are being forced to make tough decisions. Many have scaled back operations, cut product lines, or passed costs on to consumers. That $4 box of cereal? You're looking at $8 by spring, and that's if you can even find your favorite brand on the shelves. Big cereal companies like Kellogg's and General Mills are already facing ingredient shortages, and some niche organic brands are quietly pulling their products entirely. Here's the kicker. Grocery stores are beginning to ration popular cereals without announcing it. A manager at a major chain recently told me they've cut back on orders by 30% to avoid overstocking items that might not be replenished. And those family-sized boxes you love? They're disappearing, replaced by smaller, pricier alternatives. What can you do? Start by buying an extra box or two of your go-to cereals now. They have a long shelf life if stored properly in a cool, dry place. And here's a little insider tip. Oatmeal and granola are great alternatives that tend to hold up better in times of grain shortages. They're versatile, nutritious, and still widely available for now. This isn't just a regional issue either. Canada and the EU are grappling with similar challenges, and experts predict the global grain shortfall will take years to stabilize. The ripple effect? Cereals could soon join the ranks of overpriced, hard-to-find items, with prices doubling in some areas. So, while cereals might not seem like an urgent purchase, the trends are clear. Stock up now before your morning bowl of comfort becomes a rare and expensive indulgence. Number 7. Fresh produce. Fresh produce, the vibrant foundation of a healthy diet, is facing an alarming crisis, and the shelves you've taken for granted might soon be bare. Let me explain what's happening right now. Major farming regions across the globe are reeling from relentless heat waves, droughts, and floods. California, which supplies over 50% of the fresh fruits and vegetables in the U.S., has reported a staggering 25% reduction in harvest due to water restrictions and scorching temperatures. Think about that. Entire fields of lettuce, strawberries, and citrus left unplanted or destroyed. It doesn't stop there. Mexico, another critical supplier, is dealing with unprecedented droughts in key growing regions, slashing exports by nearly a third. Why should this matter to you now? Fresh produce isn't just perishable, it's extremely vulnerable to supply chain disruptions. Rising fuel costs, up 30% this year, have made transportation even more expensive, and trucker shortages mean longer delays. When you combine fewer crops with bottlenecks in delivery, it's a recipe for skyrocketing prices. Already, we're seeing bell peppers hit $5 per pound, lettuce doubling in price, and avocados becoming a rare luxury. By spring, experts predict that some fresh vegetables could see price hikes of 70% or more. Worse still, grocery chains are quietly reducing inventory, prioritizing items with longer shelf lives over fresh produce, leaving consumers with fewer options. So, what can you do? If you love fresh fruits and vegetables, consider buying in bulk and preserving them now. Freezing produce like berries and broccoli, or learning to can tomatoes and green beans can save you from future sticker shock. Farmers markets can also be a great source for stocking up while supplies last. Here's another tip. Look for hydroponic or greenhouse-grown options. They may cost more upfront, but are often more resilient to these disruptions. The fresh produce you see today could very well be a memory tomorrow. Take action now to protect your access to healthy, nutrient-rich food before the crisis worsens. Let's move on to the next item on our list, and this one is causing ripples across the entire food industry. Number 6. Beef. Yes, the staple of backyard barbecues and family dinners is facing a crisis that's both shocking and unsettling. According to the latest USDA reports, beef cattle numbers in the U.S. have dropped to their lowest levels since the 1960s. Why? It's a devastating combination of factors. Severe droughts have ravaged grazing lands in states like Texas and Oklahoma, forcing ranchers to sell off herds prematurely or cut back on production altogether. Feed costs, which skyrocketed by over 40% this year, are making it nearly impossible for small-scale ranchers to stay afloat. But that's not all. The rising demand for beef in global markets, particularly in Asia, has added even more pressure, sending prices soaring. What does this mean for you? That $5.99 per pound ground beef you picked up last year is now hovering around $8.99. And by January 2025, it could easily hit $12 per pound. Prime cuts like ribeye and tenderloin? Those are already climbing into luxury territory, with prices doubling in some regions. But here's where it gets even more alarming. Processing plants are struggling with labor shortages and transportation bottlenecks, further limiting the beef supply chain. Some grocery chains are already rationing high-demand cuts, and smaller stores are struggling to stock any beef at all. So what can you do? If beef is a mainstay in your household, now is the time to prepare. Stock your freezer with versatile cuts like ground beef or chuck roast, which can be used in multiple dishes. Consider exploring alternatives like bison or lamb, which aren't yet facing the same level of disruption. And here's a tip from industry insiders. Look for local farmers who sell directly to consumers. You'll often find better prices and a more reliable supply. Beef shortages are no longer just a possibility, they're becoming a reality. Act now to secure your family's access before the situation worsens. Number 5. Pasta and bread. If these staples are a regular part of your meals, what I'm about to share might leave you rethinking your grocery shopping strategy. Pasta and bread, the simple, comforting essentials we all rely on, are facing a growing crisis. Let me break it down for you. Wheat, the backbone of both pasta and bread, is under siege. The latest reports from the World Grain Council are alarming. Global wheat production has dropped by 20% this year alone. Why? Extreme weather is wreaking havoc in major wheat-producing countries. Droughts in the U.S. Midwest and Canada, coupled with unprecedented floods in parts of Europe, have devastated harvests. But wait, there's more. In Ukraine, one of the world's largest wheat exporters, ongoing conflicts have crippled farming and disrupted exports, creating a ripple effect across global supply chains. Here's what this means for your pantry. Those $1.50 loaves of bread or $2 boxes of pasta you've taken for granted. Prices are already climbing, with some analysts predicting a 50% spike by mid-2025. And it's not just about price hikes. Supply shortages are creeping in, with some stores already limiting purchases of high-demand brands. Think it's just a temporary issue? Think again. With grain storage facilities damaged and transportation costs surging, even the most well-stocked chains are bracing for prolonged shortages. My neighbor, a manager at a major grocery chain, told me they've never had to ration pasta shipments like this before. But don't panic. There are steps you can take right now to stay ahead of the curve. First, consider stocking up on versatile options like whole grain pasta or flour that can be stored long-term in airtight containers. Flour, when kept properly, can last for years and give you the option to bake your own bread at home. And here's a tip from baking pros. Freeze your bread to extend its shelf life by months without losing quality. Pasta, too, is an excellent pantry staple. Lightweight, easy to store, and endlessly adaptable. Here's the reality. Pasta and bread shortages aren't just about inconvenience. They're a wake-up call. These items are fundamental to so many of our meals, yet their availability is more fragile than most people realize. So if you find yourself in the pasta aisle or near the bakery, don't think twice. Stock up, store smart, and prepare for a food landscape that's shifting faster than ever. Number 4. Rice. Let's talk about rice, and trust me, this isn't just about your pantry staples. This is about a looming crisis that could hit millions of households. Remember when a bag of rice was one of the most affordable and reliable food items? Those days might be slipping away. Global rice prices have surged to record highs, with some varieties doubling in cost over the past year. What's causing this? The situation in Asia, which produces 90% of the world's rice, is nothing short of dire. India, the largest rice exporter, has tightened its export restrictions following the worst monsoon season in decades, leaving fields waterlogged and yields down by 30%. Meanwhile, Thailand and Vietnam, other major producers, are grappling with severe droughts, making it impossible to keep up with demand. But it doesn't end there. The war in Ukraine has disrupted fertilizer supply chains, driving up costs for rice farmers globally. Small-scale farmers, the backbone of rice production, are being forced out of business as they can no longer afford to grow their crops. What does this mean for you? That $10 bag of jasmine rice you've been buying without a second thought? It might soon cost $20, or worse, disappear from shelves altogether. Supermarkets in some regions are already limiting purchases of long-grain rice to one bag per customer. And those instant rice pouches you love for convenience? Expect prices to double by spring. Here's the smart move. If rice is a staple in your household, now's the time to act. Stock up on your favorite varieties, but don't hoard. Store them properly in airtight containers to keep them fresh for up to 2 years. Consider diversifying with alternatives like quinoa or barley to ease the strain on your supplies. This isn't just about saving money, it's about ensuring your family has access to one of the world's most essential food staples during an uncertain future. Don't wait until the shelves are empty. Take action today because when rice runs out, it's not just a meal, it's survival. Number 3, orange juice. Here's something you probably didn't see coming. Orange juice, the breakfast staple so many of us rely on, is facing a major crisis. Florida, which produces over 70% of America's oranges, just recorded its lowest citrus yield in nearly a century. Farmers have been battling a devastating combination of extreme weather events, record-breaking hurricanes in 2024, and an unrelenting drought that followed. But the real killer? Citrus greening disease. This bacterial infection has wiped out entire groves, reducing production by nearly 40% in just 2 years. And it's not just Florida. Brazil, the largest orange juice exporter in the world, is also struggling with severe droughts and rising fertilizer costs, slashing their output by 25%. What does this mean for you? Those $4 cartons of orange juice you grab without a second thought might hit $8 or more by spring. Some grocery stores are already rationing supplies, with smaller chains running out entirely. And don't expect any relief soon. Orange trees take years to recover, even under perfect conditions. If you're an orange juice lover, now's the time to act. Stock up on frozen concentrate. It lasts for months in the freezer and can be a lifesaver when fresh supplies dry up. And here's a tip. Consider alternatives like apple or pineapple juice as backups, but don't wait until orange juice becomes a luxury item. This isn't just about your morning routine, it's about preparing for what's coming. Take action now before orange juice becomes a thing of the past for your family table. Number 2, canned goods. Here's something you might not have thought about. Canned goods, those pantry staples that have always been there when you need them, are suddenly at risk of disappearing from shelves. Why? It's a perfect storm of rising costs and supply chain disruptions. The cost of aluminum, which is critical for making cans, has skyrocketed by 70% in the past year, driven by global shortages and increased demand. On top of that, major producers are grappling with higher transportation costs due to record diesel prices and trucking shortages. But that's not all. Many canned food manufacturers rely on crops like tomatoes, beans, and corn, which have faced devastating yield drops due to extreme weather across the US and abroad. Here's what this means for you. That $1.50 can of soup or beans you used to grab without thinking. It's already edging toward $3 in some areas, and experts predict prices could double again by early spring. Worse yet, some stores are quietly reducing inventory, and certain popular brands are becoming harder to find. If canned goods are a key part of your household staples, now's the time to act. Stock up on the basics like soups, vegetables, and proteins like tuna and chicken. They have a shelf life of up to 5 years if stored in a cool, dry place, making them perfect for long-term preparedness. And here's a tip most people don't know. Opt for canned goods with pull-tab lids for convenience during emergencies when a can opener might not be handy. Don't wait for shortages to hit your local grocery store. Prepare now to ensure your pantry stays stocked and your family stays secure in the months ahead. Number 1, garlic. This one's going to catch you off guard. Garlic, that humble kitchen essential, is at the center of a brewing crisis. Here's the shocking truth. 80% of the world's garlic comes from China, and right now, their production and export systems are in chaos. Extreme weather and ongoing trade tensions have caused a massive slowdown in garlic exports, and shipping costs from Chinese ports have skyrocketed by 45% in the last 6 months. But it doesn't stop there. California, the largest domestic producer of garlic, is battling a 30% drop in production due to unprecedented drought conditions and rising operational costs. What does this mean for you? That $1 garlic bulb you've been tossing into your cart without a second thought could hit $3 or more by early next year if it's even available. Pre-peeled garlic? Forget it. Those containers are already disappearing from store shelves. And major grocery chains? They're quietly limiting orders to stretch their supply. This isn't just a temporary blip. Experts predict that garlic shortages could last well into 2025, making it a potential luxury item in your kitchen. Here's what you can do right now. Stock up on whole garlic bulbs while prices are still reasonable. Properly stored garlic can last up to 6 months in a cool, dry place. And if you find garlic with the root still attached, grab it. It'll stay fresh even longer. For the truly resourceful, consider growing your own garlic at home. It's easier than you think, and you'll thank yourself when the shelves are bare. Garlic isn't just a seasoning, it's a cornerstone of countless recipes and an irreplaceable part of our diets. Act now to ensure you're not caught without it when prices soar and supplies dwindle. Here's the bottom line. I know this all sounds intense, but preparation is the key to staying ahead. We've gone through the 12 critical items at risk: eggs, sugar, canned goods, garlic, and more, and the steps you can take to ensure your family isn't caught off guard. Start small, grab a few extra eggs and freeze them, stock up on canned goods with long shelf lives, and consider planting garlic at home for added security. Smart planning is what matters. Don't hoard, but make gradual additions to your pantry with items you know you'll use. And don't forget storage tricks. Vacuum sealers can extend the shelf life of dried goods, while freezing or preserving items like orange juice and fresh produce can make all the difference. Remember, the window to act is now. Stores are already limiting purchases, prices are climbing fast, and shortages are becoming more frequent. Being proactive today means you'll be prepared tomorrow. Take this as an opportunity to protect your household without giving in to panic. Before you go, let's reflect. Which of these items would hit your family the hardest if it disappeared? Let me know in the comments and share your best storage or shopping hacks. We're all in this together. If this video helped, hit the like button so more people can see it, and don't forget to subscribe for updates. Next week, I'll be covering something even more critical: how to secure clean water when supplies are under threat. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Stay sharp, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next one.